crisis. I just watched the White House meeting between President Bukele of El Salvador and Donald Trump. And what they said about Abrego Garcia, a man who had a court order from 2019 that he may not be extradited from the United States to to El Salvador, and even so, they did so. But in the White House today, they said that he was in the US illegally, that he was a member of what's it called, that M13 or MS13, I forgot which. And MS13 it is, right? Mara Salvatrucha. And Bukele said so, and Trump said so, and the White House, whatever is his name, that stupid, incredibly annoying person who speaks for Trump there, and Pam Bondi, and Marco Rubio, my former senator, former congressman in Tallahassee, was sitting there looking stupid. So Vance had the common sense today to keep his mouth shut because whenever he opens it, something extremely bad comes out of it. So anyway, and they said that the Supreme Court had voted 9-0 on their line. Of course, the opposite is the case. So they are openly lying about what the Supreme Court decided, and they are openly lying about the status of Abrego Garcia, and they're doing it together with Bukele, who, by the way, now has come out of the closet, and we know what he is and on whose side he is on. I will put out more videos, not lives, but real videos where I put map, because when these things become clear on whose side people are and governments are, not countries, the governments, then we can make maps over the world, the geopolitical situation. And remember that the fact that two countries are showing the fists to each other, like the US and Venezuela, it doesn't mean that they are not on the same side. That's just a play for the gallery. That's just to make people believe, divide and conquer. I will get back to that later. But anyway, this is what happened today. An open constitutional crisis. The president openly defies, openly lies about what the Supreme Court says, and openly is defying their order to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return to the United States, where he was legally, with an order prohibiting his extradition to El Salvador. So on Tuesday, tomorrow, I think it's 5 p.m., the judge who has the case has another hearing, and the government lawyers have not been given any information to her questions until now. So it will be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, it's very limited what the courts can do against the executive. So, she might hypothetically lock up the lawyers or something like that, but it's not going to stop Trump. So therefore, we have come to the, as I see it, inevitable point that I predicted already in 2016. If Trump is sworn in as president, he will never cede power voluntarily. Even if he loses an election, he will say he won, and hold on to power. And that's what we're seeing now. He is not going to let go of power. He will consolidate power. He'll make himself into a dictator. He will convert the United States into a tyranny. El Salvador, he said today, he will build new prisons. He might potentially pick up American citizens who oppose him. No due process, just ship them off to El Salvador, to the gulag there. So what is the solution? Well, The United States is no different from any other country in the world. The solution is obviously an uprising, a popular uprising, because remember, the power resides in the people. The power resides in the people. Trump can't do anything if he doesn't have people around him who facilitate this. And everybody who is facilitating this are an accomplice, is an accomplice. They're all accomplices. And keep track of who are doing this. Not just the people in Congress and some in the courts, but also in private companies, law firms, prisoner systems. Everybody who is part of this, somebody should be taking notes. People like FBI agents taking notes so that when this regime is overthrown, because it will be overthrown, these people can be prosecuted. And I mean for real, not what happened when Biden was president and Merrick Garland did nothing. No, really prosecuted, like the Nuremberg trials, that style of prosecution. Because this is serious. During Biden, the Democrats did not take this seriously. This is deadly serious. And now it's up to the people to take to the streets. There is a call, there is a, how do you say in English, convocatoria, for a general strike. Personally, I say, don't be so limited as to only appeal to employees. There are people who are not employed, students, for instance, or people who are self-employed or have their own company or are home with children. There are lots of other people who are retired who are not employed, but who might want to participate and who should participate. So let's call it a civic action. And the way to overthrow dictatorship in the end is, it starts with a lot of protests. That's already started. The next one is April 19, but it ends with a sustained, massive, and centric protest demanding the dictator's resignation, not taking no for an answer. So that's the path the United States is on now. I wished it wouldn't have to come to this, but unfortunately, my predictions were right. And that's where we are. And now it's a question of organizing this resistance. And remember to stay under the radar, communicate with trusted people, stay away from the networks, stay away from things like WhatsApp or Meta. You can use a lot of different chat. I won't mention anybody, but there are lots of different chat options that you can use in your little group and disappearing messages, because it's necessary to coordinate electronically, but don't leave a trail and use a code name. I have some experience in this from Venezuela, from helping the resistance there under many years in a situation that, Venezuela is controlled by a cocaine cartel and has been for many, many years. So they have been taking help from foreign countries to go after people. So one of the lessons I can tell you is, when you do this and start organizing small, you have to be very, very much under the radar. But once it gets out to big protests and the massive protests, you don't have to be so under the radar, because you are overwhelming their capacity to do surveillance. But it has to be really massive, really massive. Some estimates say that you have to be 3.5% of the population for it to be effective. That means 11 million. That should be no problem. Once people realize that what is at stake is their most basic freedom, the right to be free, not to be picked up from the street and sent away because of a tweet you wrote. When people realize that it's their freedom, their liberty, the basic American essence that is at stake, they want to turn the United States into North Korea or Russia. or Venezuela or Cuba. When you realize that, you know what to do. Americans stand for freedom and democracy. You know what to do, and I have faith in that you will succeed. Over and out.
¿Por qué me cuelga?